we kind of floated this out there. Could there be the possibility of the Colts making a switch at quarterback? Yep. Joe Flacco time. He is now going to get the start in Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson, after the unfortunate decision to opt out of the game on Sunday.
Flacco taking bodies at the end of his career, man.
Yeah, man. Like he really is.
Cat's trying to get away from Aaron Rodgers, but they ain't trying to get away from Joe Flacco.
He got by LaVar Jackson his final year, and he's like, okay. All right,
I'll never let one of y'all take over for me again.
I'll handle this.
He's on the kill list. Didn't he get Deshaun Watson last year?
Yeah. Apparently, a team source with the Colts
I'm just
said
keeping the theme alive, Brady.
a team source with the Colts said that this is a quote-unquote growth opportunity for Anthony Richardson. Taking a step back can be a good thing. By all means, they are not giving up on Richardson as their quarterback. But he basically just kind of gave them their out, right? Like, they're better with Joe Flacco. They were better when Joe Flacco played. And so now Shane Steichen's like, all right, this guy wants to opt out. We'll let you opt out for the rest of the year, maybe.
Dang.
Just handle it like that. So
go ahead, Q. You the QB. You got it.
But I think what's interesting about this is what this does to Anthony Richardson moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, assuming Flacco plays well the rest of the season, where does that leave Anthony Richardson then?
Mm-hmm.
and I guess what troubles me about this a little bit, I understand the Colts, they want to win right now. This could be them making a message or sending a message to Anthony Richardson with everything that became public this past week, tapping himself out to come out of the game. Maybe there's something else, behind the scenes going on in that regard. I mean, from watching him, what's tough to take away from it at this point in his career is he's had a hard time staying healthy. He's not improved by any means his ability to be more accurate from the pocket, cleaning up his footwork. He's making kind of some of the similar mistakes that you'll see him make from time to time. And as great of an athlete as he is, if you can't stay healthy, that doesn't really play to their advantage. So we're into year 2. He hasn't played a ton of games, and yet you're still seeing the same mistakes and having the same concerns you had 2 years ago when he was coming out of Florida. And there's two sides of this conversation. The first is like the Colts doing this to him doesn't help his growth in some ways. Like the NFL quarterback position is an experienced position. You got to play the guy to see what you got, and you have to go through some lumps sometimes too. when you got a guy, excuse me,
Whoa.
When you got a guy who's only started for 1 year and then barely played his rookie year, you've got to be able to at times find out what he's capable of, but go through some bad experience in doing that. The other side of the conversation is there's some fundamental things that you need him to clean up if he's ever going to be the quarterback you want him to be. And playing games is not going to allow him the chance to focus on doing that. Now, I don't know that the rest of the season, him sitting as a backup, him working every single day is going to be enough time and reps for him to truly change mechanics and footwork and things that he needs to change once they get into a game. There's so many things running through your brain that you really need to kind of break away in the offseason and focus on those one or two fundamental things to actually make a change when you get into a game scenario and your body just kind of reacts in order for it to do it the way you're training it to do, because you've already got this foundation of how you've done it your entire life. So it's why guys like Tim Tebow could never change his throwing motion. He threw like that forever. No one's going to change that. All these different quarterback gurus, people, we've changed it. I was like, okay, let's go see what happens in the game. And it looked like he was winding up a clock. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's going to be. So I'm not saying that's the issue with Anthony Richardson. It's more footwork things. There might be some upper body mechanic things. I haven't really broken them down like that, but the footwork you can very much see. Those things, it takes time to train. So this gives him that time. But the problem with that is like you're in the year 2. We seem to have a shorter leash on these quarterbacks now more than ever. Look at all the guys that have gotten benched and they're into their first year, rookie year, and teams already want to move on. I mean, it's a twofold conversation. The league has never been worse for player development than right now. Your off seasons are limited, your hitting's limited, so even for other positions, it's never been worse. And then now the expectation is as high as ever, where teams expect you to come in and be able to perform at a high level. And they're not working with you on the side for fundamentals like they used to. I keep going back to that time you had quarterback school when all you do would drop back. If LaVar walked in with some of the D linemen, they'd be laughing at us. Because like you're all out there just dropping back the entire length of the field, no football, nothing. That was all you were allowed to do. And you're watching film and all this other stuff that was going on. So this is the worst possible time, unfortunately, for him, because he's a guy who needs development, yet there's no time for it. No one's got patience for that at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I think that's the continued theme. It's time.
Is part of it, too, that coaches feel like they're under
they have no time.
Pressure as well.
Yes, 100%.
So it's like, hey, listen, I don't have time for you to develop. I need to win.
That's correct. They're expecting you to have a certain level of, which, by the way, they should have an idea and an understanding of that if they're going to use a top draft pick on you, bringing you in. Like, it's not like, oh, well, we did all of this homework and we felt like this was the grade he deserved and it was a first-round grade and we're going to take him in as a first-rounder, this, that, and other, and then all of a sudden you don't feel like he's developed enough. There's a lot of give and take there, or maybe a gray area in terms of how they should be looked at. If you know that there are like mechanical issues that need to be worked on, you knew that when he was coming in. Now, the question is, did you try to work on the issues as I think you kind of alluded to with Tebow? If you felt like those issues were correctable issues, are you now at a point where you're saying, well, we thought we could correct it by now, but maybe it's due to injury, not enough reps, maybe it's due to him not being able to do it well enough? Whatever it may be, are you looking at it from the standpoint of we have a better option and, we'll revisit this when we need to revisit it? I don't think him pulling himself out of the game, for what it's worth, I don't think it's egregious enough for this to be the end result of it.
Do you guys think if he didn't pull himself out of the game that he would have been benched?
He'd still be playing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
By the way, I don't want to make it sound like he's got a throwing motion like Tim Tebow, and in no way does he. I don't see that sort of like upper body mechanical breakdown. To me, it's more his footwork. There might be some other things, but he was a much more fluid passer anyway, or natural passer. To me, it's that they're trying to set an example. I don't know how long this will go, but I think if they're truly investing into Anthony Richardson, they need to look at the fact that he barely played last year and almost still say this is a rookie year for him. And we probably hate admitting that, but he needs to learn from someone, and this is going to be the guy he's going to learn from. And I would think that Gardner Minshew was that guy last year. I think Gardner does a lot of the right things, and the way he goes about leading a team, leading his guys. But now I guess you've got another example of that in Joe Flacco. So they're going wacko for Flacco, guys. Just in Indianapolis this time.
I don't know what the long-term play of it is, but if you're looking at it from a standpoint of trying to build longevity, I think we all know it isn't Flacco. So is this like you said, is this setting an example like, hey, look, man, don't do anything that's going to compromise yourself or this team in that way?
It's just the whole opting out thing, especially for him, is wild to me from this standpoint.
Well, it's from anybody, really.
Let me just point this out, though. Why is it hard to understand? We've allowed these young people that are coming in the NFL now to opt out of 1,000 things in their life.
That's very true.
No,
hey, things get hard in college, go transfer.
Opt out.
All right? Do you need a job? Like, go get. I always tell kids, go get a crappy job. It'll make you appreciate the job you have in the future when you're doing something that, for example, like, hey, when you're not playing pro football, it's hard to compare anything else to it that you love and care about quite as much. But in all seriousness, go get a crappy job. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You'll appreciate what you're doing later on. And yet the reality is our entire society has been built to allow kids to opt out now. Oh, you're not feeling good? Don't go to school. All right?
It's true.
It's okay. Don't go to school. You don't have to do that. Like that's what we've done with this generation.
Look at the divorce
of
rates.
athlete.
And you almost can't you almost can't criticize it. Otherwise, people think, well, listen, you've got to give people the ability to
mental health.
Yeah, like they're going to cite that. That's going to be their excuse.
And you know what kills me, by the way, not to get off on a complete tangent, but whenever we talk about mental health, we don't talk about mental toughness. Like where is that for all our psychologies and sports psychs and everything else? Where does mental toughness come into play? Like, at what point do we go, oh, we're worried about their mental health? Got it. Understand that. But now it's become a crutch for people who either want to be weak and lazy. And they use that at times when it's not about mental health. It's about the fact that this is an opportunity to build mental toughness, to build grit. And yet we don't want to get young people to build those skills when they're going to need it later on. Like I honestly, I'm getting serious here, and I hate that I'm doing this because I know we're not supposed to do that on a morning sports talk show.
Let's do it. Why not?
But the truth of the matter is, and obviously, Jonas, like, you can speak to this more than anyone else. There's going to come a time when these young people are going to be living their lives without parents, without people who can be that crutch for them or have been that crutch for them. How are we preparing them for that? Like, the reality of being a father for me at this point in time in my life is trying to instill in them all these different habits and traits that will hopefully make them a good person in society, a productive person in society for our wonderful country. But beyond that, it's preparing them for life without me.
That's the whole.
Every moment they're not with me, and every moment that once I'm gone, that's what I'm trying to do. And I feel like we've now are raising kids in an era where it's like, no, we don't want them to be like, we don't want them to be like that. We want them to be aware of their mental health. No, I want them to be tough. I want them to be able to sit there and say, yeah, I want to push through this. I'm tired. I don't need to take a play off. I don't need to call a timeout. Like, I can do this. Like, I think that's what I need, is I need them to mentally be able to say that. And so that's the problem for a guy like Anthony Richardson is, of course, we're raising all these young people in a world where it's okay to tap out. It's pathetic, honestly. And I don't even put it really on him as much as what we've created as like the older people and what we're looking down at, because we're like complicit with it. It's okay. It's okay if they want to tap out or they want to take a play off. And it's like, hell no. It was never like that when you were growing up, VAR. No. It was never like that when you were growing up, Jonas.
No.
And it's BS, and it's why I think when we look down the road at where things are going, it's going to be a problem. Because we lack any sort of toughness that, like, the future generations flipping had, like my dad or his dad, and guys who went and served war and came back, got right back in the workforce, put food on the table for their families. People who are getting up doing that right now that had fathers like that or mothers like that. I mean, that's the BS of where we're at right now.
And it didn't happen when I grew up because my parents wouldn't allow that to happen. That wasn't an option. No, you go to work, you go to school, you show up. And if you take that approach nowadays, it's like, oh, yeah, this is a get off my lawn moment. No, this is just get off your lazy ass moment. Like figure it out. And most times now, to your guys' point, that nobody wants to do that.
That's like now the
out.
Exception to the rule when it used to be the standard. Which is sad. That's kind of sad.
Listen, and I know we're late, but I got it because my brother's kid who plays at Middle Tennessee and works his ass off. And I remember him telling me a story. My brother telling me a story that one of his teammates was giving him a hard time because he said, oh, you're one of those try-hard guys. And he didn't understand what it meant. And he talked to my brother, and my brother told him, no, it just means you're outworking everybody.
That's what it means.
He goes, don't let them steer you down that path. You're outworking them, and they don't like it. That's why they're trying to get you in that other mindset. But it is what it is.